All right, welcome everyone to our show. This is Landon Sikahema. For this episode, I have my guests here, my Auntie Geraldine and my Uncle Alema. They own and started the Manuia Foundation. It's a nonprofit, and so it helps with education. But I want to turn the time over to them, and I want to have them start by explaining the background of exactly what their nonprofit does and kind of the in-depth story of how they started it. So, Uncle Lema, I don't know if you want to start, but
yeah. So we started Manuia. We used to live in Samoa back in the day, and the foundation kind of started from there. I was working with education consultants, and I was running a juvenile treatment center back there in Samoa, and then working with educational consultants helped me to know that there's a need. There's a need for knowledge about admissions into great universities, and not just great universities. It was important that the youth had a great fit for the university that they're going to go to for their interests and their strengths. And so that's where I started learning about what I could do, and then I would take that information because I would visit universities all over the world, and then I would take that information and bring it home to our community. And so
in Samoa.
So I started in Samoa, but when we moved back to the States, then I was doing it in Arizona and Utah.
Nice. Now, some of this stuff, can you just almost explain it to me like I'm 5? First of all, what's an educational consultant?
So an education consultant, pretty much where parents pay a consultant to understand who their child is and then find a right fit, a great fit university for that child to go to. And now it could be an academic university, or it could be a vocational school, trade school. It just depends on their kids' strengths and interests.
Wow. So this is a service where parents pay an educational consultant to help their kids with this. Now, do they usually do this for their kids when they're in high school or earlier than that? Or
so we usually tell parents that to get involved in middle school and start exploring and choosing activities to get involved in that pique their child's interests or where they can discover what their strengths are. And so that's usually how early they get involved in. And so parents pay ed consultants to get their kids into a great fit school because they don't have the time to go visit the universities and find out the admissions requirements and then all the things that they're looking for. And so ed consultants are required for their credentials to visit, 80 plus universities for your credential. So you're meeting with admissions counselors, financial aid counselors. You'll even meet with professors or deans of universities, especially if a university is known for a great college,
Yeah.
And you would meet with the dean and kind of get a feel for what it is that they're trying to accomplish. And then you take all that information, and parents would seek out the ed consultant that's most a good fit for them, for the school that they want to send their kids to. So, yeah. And then ed consultants work with families as early as 7th and 8th grade, 6th grade. And that's when they're coaching up the parents as to what activities to expose their child to so that they can narrow down so that by the time they're seniors getting ready to open up the application, they kind of know what area of their strengths or interests lie, and they can point their child towards it.
Oh, that's really awesome. See, I didn't even know that was a thing, but that's really awesome. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know if you've been an educational consultant, but you've done a lot of visiting to like 80 plus colleges yourself, correct?
I'm well over 100 colleges visited, and I am a credentialed educational consultant, and I did that a while back, yeah.
When you think about college, it's a big investment in your child. And so many times parents may think, oh, I don't need a consultant. Like, what's the value of having a consultant? But when you think about paying hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? That these parents are putting out for their child to go to a university. Being able to make a more informed decision can be helpful. And by the way, Landon, thank you so much for inviting us here on your podcast. Alema and I, he's kind of talking the backstory, right, before we even started Manuia. But when we did start Manuia about 5 years ago, it was based on a Polynesian sharing with another Polynesian our opportunities out there. And many of our community don't know what's available, especially funding wise. And so our whole mission is based on strengthening families by helping youth reach their potential. And it's not just education like you're talking about. It could be a skill, it could be a trade. But when Alema mentioned the word Manuia, that stems from our last name. So it's no coincidence. Many people know the word Manuia, but I think where we found it meaningful to us was that it's part of our last name, Fitisimanu, and Fiti meaning to flip or flick or fall.
Yep.
And then Manuia means blessing. So the proverb really states, may a blessing fall your way. And that's how we feel about our kids. They deserve every blessing to come into their lives. But as parents, we need to prepare them in a way where we can connect, right? All of the preparation and launching them to the next phase.
Well, that's really awesome. Thanks again. And yeah, thank you guys for coming on this episode of my podcast. So yeah, now that we talked a little bit about the background, but yeah, tell me about, the specifics of what the foundation does, the nonprofit. Now, I know that among other things, you've emphasized that you guys do one-on-one coaching with college essay writing. You guys emphasize helping people figure out how to pay for school. But, those are the main things I know. But tell me, the nuts and bolts of what exactly your nonprofit does.
So usually these educational consultants usually work in a big firm, and these firms are on the East and West Coast. Big firms with hundreds of consultants all within these buildings, right? And they help the rich get their kids into the great universities in the world, right? They're not just looking at U.S. colleges, but, Beijing, Tokyo, Europe. So all those are what they play in, right? And so I just know that that if we were to bring some of that information to our Polynesian community, man, there's so much talent. But they just don't know what to choose from. They don't know what the menu is to choose from. And sometimes they're just picking from a menu of just whatever's in their neighborhood or something like that, which is just totally fine. It's a solution. But if you could pick from a bigger menu, then you'd probably pick a little bit differently, depending on what you could afford or what the student has the capability to do, So I thought that if the rich were using these big firms, what if I did this as a nonprofit and I just used my background in college sports and admissions to help our community, just so everybody's IQ about college admissions just goes up, right? Mm-hmm. And that they could choose from another list of things that they could choose from, And so that's why we started Manuia, because we were just finding too many of our kids with lots of talent, and not just the talent, but the work ethic to get things done, and so we wanted to bring those opportunities to our families and allow them to choose if they could choose.
The interesting thing here, Landon, is many of our Pacific Islanders go to college on a sports scholarship, right? Alema works with recruiting at the University of Utah and also Brigham Young University. And he came to see these families. And one child out of how many, 5 or 6, was getting a scholarship based on sports. But what about the other 4 or 5? What opportunities did they have? And it was interesting because for me as a mom, I didn't really know about college. I'm a first gen, right?
Yeah.
College student. And funding was the least thing I ever knew about. I didn't even know there were grants. I'm like, what? Why didn't I know about this? But I guess my whole point is when our son got accepted to Stanford and I got the financial aid letter and I saw that his out of pocket was less than what I would pay at the community college, which, by the way, I was working at Salt Lake Community College at the time. I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, this is more than I made in a year. And my child now gets to go to one of the top universities in the world and get it, paid for. So, I mean, for parents, that is a huge blessing in our lives and a huge blessing for the siblings as well to see, man, if that's what he's doing, then maybe I could do the same. So,
Yeah, it's really awesome. Tell me about, for instance, when you emphasize the one-on-one coaching, for everything. Tell me about like some of those very specific services that you guys do.
Yeah, well, ideally, I like working with the 7th and 8th graders so that we can coach up the parents as to this is the perfect time to introduce to your child all the things that they could get involved in: clubs, sports, debate, you name it. This is where you introduce
choir.
you introduce
Like letting them know all the stuff that's
Yeah.
available
Yeah.
in high school when they hit it in a year
Right.
or two.
When they
Right,
go
right,
in the
and
years.
and even if they don't even know, even there's tests they can do within their counseling department within their junior high or something like that. There's ways of doing their Strengths Finder tests so they can know what it is that they're interested in, and then we can start pointing them towards the activities to choose to do, maybe Christmas break, maybe what they're going to do in the summer, and that would include as well. If I got a 7th or 8th grader and mom and dad plan that their next break, right? It could be Christmas break, Labor Day, could be the summer break, where they're going to plan. So wherever they're going on vacation, we're going to go to Disneyland, let's go to California. And then part of their job is not only to go to Disneyland, but to fit in maybe 2 or 3 campus visits on that same trip, for the same cost that they're going to go out there. As soon as we get kids on campuses,
Yeah.
the ability for them to get to school, because mom and dad's on the campus, walking through the campus, and then the kid is walking through a campus as well, they start to visualize that this could be them. This
Yeah.
could be them. So we absolutely try to promote them. Whatever vacation you're planning or whatever break that's coming up, get your kid and mom and dad on a campus and let them walk the campus, do a campus visit.
You mentioned the 6th and 7th grade. The reason for that, I feel, is the kids are still dreaming at that time, right?
Yeah.
They're open to the possibilities. When they get in high school, it's like, don't talk to me about
Yeah, yeah.
I already know what I want to do with my life, right? Or they may get stigmatized like, oh, you're just an athlete. You can't be academics as well, let alone be in the chess club. And so these
When the older they
labels-
get, the more barriers they see.
Yeah.
But you get them young and you start planting those seeds early. Ooh.
And
amazing.
really those formative years for a child is vitally impacted by their parents' opinion. And so by you sharing with your child options, now that doesn't mean you figured everything out, but just giving them the luxury to think about things, to imagine things. What if I could do this? What would it look like if I got into that? Like, just allowing them that. I feel like many times that's the biggest detriment is we as parents, we've
mom and
lived
dad.
enough life
Yeah.
that we're like, nope, we don't have the money. Nope, you don't look like them. Nope, we don't vacation in these parts of the world. It's like,
Polynesians don't do that.
and we only, know this, is our specialty. Then the kids start limiting their options and really they haven't even discovered what their best thing is yet
Yeah.
because it was cut short a little bit. So I love that age group of 6th and 7th grade. It's so funny because, our son Televo, he wanted to be a football player, right? He walked on at Utah, got into football, but he said, I know how to do football. Like I'm good. Left football, went back to Brigham Young University, and is now graduating in art. And it's funny, I get a little emotional. I'm so sorry, but
You're good.
He was sharing last night that he used to draw, and someone asked him, when did you start drawing? And he said, actually, it was in 6th grade. And so the funny thing is about that conversation is his friend actually brought out his pictures, and they were amazing. And he said, when did you do that? And he said, actually in 6th grade too. And everyone looked at those pictures like, wait, you drew these pictures? And so there is a certain time in life where kids are open to just exploring and to figuring themselves out. And so I think the best thing we can do as parents is give them that time. The second time in life where they're able to dream is when they get on these college campuses and they let go of who they are and they're able to redefine themselves. And that's another important time in life as parents, is to allow them to have that time again to kind of figure things out. They're going to be working at their careers for how many years?
Yeah.
But they never take the time to really figure themselves out. I think it's key. So anyways.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
It's really awesome. And so I like how you emphasize, again, if I can come back to what you said, how important you think it is for kids and parents early on, like even 7th and 8th grade, to be visiting college campuses, and ideally as many as possible, as many as, time and means permit.
Right.
Because again, correct me if I'm wrong, but as an educational consultant, that's how you learn how to consult people, is you've been to 100+ universities. And so when you go and get to know kids who maybe they and their parents have never gotten a chance to go to even one university campus, as you get to know them, you can say, oh, okay, this campus or this group of campuses might be the best place for you.
That's right. It's important to make decisions with a little bit more information, and then the physical visit to a campus just kind of cements that, oh, this is what we're going to do. I don't know what campus we're going to be at, but my kids now know that our family gets their education.
They go to college.
Why am I getting all emotional?
Well, you're talking about kids, right? You're talking about families. And honestly, Landon, I'm late to this game, but when I would walk on a college campus, I don't know, you can feel the vibe. Like, Alema wants to go to the bookstore. I don't know. He always wants to grab a T-shirt, and I
grab a T-shirt at every campus.
That's right.
And I sport that
a new workout shirt, right?
A new workout shirt.
But I always go to the main quad, right? It's like, this is where the activities are going to be taking place. I look at the architecture. You can kind of feel of the history, and the vibe of the campus. Like, these are historical campuses. They've been established in the 1800s.
Yeah.
So much history has taken place here. And here we are just stepping into that realm at this time.
Yeah.
And there's a responsibility you feel from our Pacific Islanders. It's not just me going to college.
Yeah.
I'm bringing the community with me. I'm giving them access to these campuses and to what's available and how we can contribute. Many of our students, they think, man, I'm getting funding to go to school. It's like a handout. Like, why should I take that? But it's an opportunity, and it's an opportunity to share and to cultivate. And I know Alema can speak more to that, but our kids are needed on these campuses.
Yeah.
And they can change, they can have an impact on these campuses. So
when I'm on campuses, I usually go right to the admissions department to get a good feel for what it is that they're looking for in a candidate to go to their school. But man, it's important to know that they're dying for. So these are liberal arts schools back east. These are the big major Ivies. They're looking for. They've got a lot of the one side of the society, right?
Yes.
But what they're looking for is these strong and resilient people who know who they are, know right from wrong, know how to love. That's our Polynesian community.
Yes.
That's our Polynesian, and you bring those guys on their campus, and they fix a lot of problems. They really do. You know, when we used to recruit for University of Utah and BYU, we always look for strong Polynesian kids who knew right from wrong that can come and fix the locker room. I don't say that in a mean way. I mean I say that in a way that because we have kids that come in and know who they are and know right from wrong, they come in and they set the culture. And so that's the same way admissions departments are looking at. They just need good kids, good for society. People are looking out to care for each other, look out for each other. Those are the candidates they're looking for as well. So whether it be sports or it's the academic side, we need good people.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I love how you emphasize, again, you guys, your oldest went to Stanford, and then one of your younger daughters, she went to Harvard on the East Coast. And, you know, the fact that, again, you've been to 100 plus college campuses, like you say, you can feel the vibe of the specific people that are there, the architecture and all this. And I if it's okay, talk a little bit. I think it's cool that because you guys with your own kids have run the gamut between Stanford and Harvard and, you know, BYU and the U, you know, the reality is, you know, if we're talking about Pacific Islanders, Polynesian kids, you know, it's not like one size fits all for all Polynesian kids. Like some kids might want to be at the place where they know there's a lot of polys, whether it's University of Hawaii or USC or BYU or University of Utah. But some Polynesian kids might prefer to be in a new environment where there's not as many Polynesian kids, like the East Coast, for instance. And yeah, do you have like experience kind of helping different poly kids, you know, with these different kinds of things that they, you know, because again, they might have different interests and stuff.
It's true.
So every year since COVID, right?
That's right. 2020?
In 2020, I left college football and we started to do this full time. And so what we discovered was that there was a lot of need out there. And so we started in 2020 probably with a handful of kids that we were helping, and parents hired us to do this. But every year after that, we're anywhere from 25 to 30 or 40 kids every year we would work with. And they weren't all seniors trying to get into a college. There were underclassmen as well. And we've placed kids all over the Ivy League, almost every school. And that includes grad school as well, some of the help that we've been able to support. So it's really whether a kid wants to be if a kid wants to be a journeyman electrician or wants to drive truck, we have the resources to help them do that. And to show them, to coach them up as to the process and what it is that it will take to pay for it as well. We try to find help in that regard too. But if they wanted to go to Harvard to study electrical engineering, we know how to do that too. And so it's just a matter of identifying the kid, interviewing the kid and his parent, so we know what the goals are. So we're all moving in the same direction, and then we provide the support. We'll just go and support and see what it is that we can do to try to achieve, and we'll aim for like their dream schools, right? We'll have a list of dream schools. We'll have middle of the road schools. Yeah, you know, this is not as much of a reach. You know, can probably get there, and then we have our guaranteed they'll be admitted into those schools. So we come up with lists like that, and we help each individual try to achieve their max, right? As far as their admissions and trying to create their application so that it's the most we've allowed them to put their best foot forward at each of those schools.
You know, it's interesting as Alema is talking about this. When I think it was our second year, we had 4 applying to Harvard. And this was a gap that we felt we could help our community in. Many of them understand how to go to college. Many of them apply to college. Many of them are in college, but it was the Ivy Leagues that we were kind of like, how can we crack this nut, right? How can we know that our kids belong there? And it was so interesting. The news actually did a segment on Manuia because one of the not the ed consultants, but the alumni who helps interview the applicant before they push them forward for admissions was like, how are we having all these Polynesians apply to Harvard? And, it gave us...
And get admitted.
And get admitted. And it gave us an opportunity to raise the bar in our community and let them know that more of us should be applying. And why aren't we applying? But I think, like Alema has stated, many of them fall short of understanding the application process and what they're bringing to the table. When you're creating an application, a competitive application, academics is the baseline, right? That's knowing that the kid is going to be able to actually go to school and graduate, right? And that's important to these Ivy League schools, or to any school actually. But beyond that, it's like, who is this kid? And so by putting together a list of activities, by putting together your essays, by putting together letters of recommendation that all tell the same story at different angles, that's where the money is. And I'm talking about funding, right? To go to school and get accepted to school. But honestly, our kids have such unique stories that by just putting in a story that I got all A's and I was the captain and I was, the overachiever, that story has been told. But it's the story of, despite lack, I still achieve and I still believe and I'm still pushing. Like, that's a story people want to read, and they want to cheer for them just as much as we as parents and our community does.
I love it that, we usually aim for an application that shows resiliency. Mm-hmm. It's not about being successful in all things and
being perfect. Yeah.
No, being perfect. Yeah. What are they going to learn there at Harvard if they're perfect, right? Yeah. So if we could tell a story of where they were able to fail and grow and then come back again, and still be character-wise the person that keeps their high standard there and looks out for people. That's another thing too, is we don't acknowledge humanity in the application process. Where we acknowledge where people are serving others, loving others, and making sure that they're feeling seen and respected. Yeah, that's another characteristic lacking in a lot of applications. Which, when I talk to admissions counselors, they just go, "Man, that's who we want on our campus. That's who fixes our campus."
Yeah, because if they're great at academics, that's great. But they're great at academics and they're kind and they look out for people and they're doing well. Like, this is important. That balance of performing and being mindful, like, that's a powerful combination, you know? And many times we've been kind of taught that's about me. It's about you. You got to take care of yourself. And that is important. But in doing so, by taking care of others, helps you to become that better person. And that person that's really going to go forth in society and with an Ivy League diploma, So anyways.
I love it when we get students, we had this one student who thought serving a mission was going to be a bad thing to put on an application.
Yeah.
Because they thought it was, it's too religious and it just shows my loyalty to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and not necessarily of what it shows in my heart, I said, no, you're telling the wrong story. You got to tell all the things that it does that you became while you were on your mission,
Alema's bringing up a great story because our daughter, who's playing at Harvard, she actually had a hard time asking her coach, "Hey, I'd like to, take a gap year per se, 2 gap years," and
to go on a mission.
To go on a mission,
Okay.
and the coach asked her, like, "Why is this important to you?" Here comes Waterworks again. And she says, because I love Jesus. Like, when a relationship is so impactful in your life that you can straight up tell your coach, like, this means so much to me. Her coach has been so wonderful in allowing her to be able to practice what is so important to her that makes her a better student, a better player, a better captain. And what really floored me was Harvard newspaper did an article about her serving a mission. And when she came back and was able to play again on the field, it's like, here she is, Nafanua, back from her mission. It was like, that was part of their language, you know?
Yeah.
And so again, what we're saying is be true to who you are, you know? And that's not to say...
Are you trying to say, don't play small?
Oh, I love that saying. Alema's always like, don't think small of your opportunity, like blow it up.
Yeah.
And it's because there are people out there that need to hear these stories, you know, as much as in our LDS culture here in Utah. And we think of service like, it's like eating breakfast. We all do it, right?
I do it all the time. Yeah.
But the thing of it is, no application can go up against 6 to 8 years of serving as a young woman or a young man. It can't go up against 4 years of seminary, which is looked at as academic rigor. For a person to study a subject for 4 years in addition to their academics, again, it shows a different level. So when
Then capping it with a mission.
yeah, you know, so when Alema's saying don't play it small, it's like, you guys think this is chump change. This is actually the bread and butter they need at these campuses.
Yeah.
Is people with intention, people with purpose, people with passion. And sometimes those reps we're blessed to take through, you know, our church service and also through our family service as well. So
yeah, I always it's a saying that I like that you just mentioned, you
right.
know, never think small your opportunity, always blow it up, because you just don't know who's being affected by your actions. You just don't know how it's gonna send out the reverb out there throughout the universe, right?
That's right.
Is that as you just dictate by saying, okay, no, this is how I feel, and this I'm going to do this great thing and do things that bless others. You know, it's gonna, you know, I'm not looking for any payment back. I just wanted to put out good out there in the universe. You know, that has a huge effect on others who are near you, listening to, and they want to do good too. It makes them want to be a part of the spirit that you bring to a certain activity, you know. So that's why it's always a good policy to blow it up and make things as blessed as possible. People are happy you were involved in the situation, you know.
You know, this reminds me, and I have to tell you this quick story. When our kids were young, we would have family council, right?
Yeah.
Typically on Monday nights, and we would kind of share our wins for the week, you know.
Yeah.
And people are like, "Oh, I was picked as student of the month. Oh, I'm on student council. Oh, I got my poetry recognized. Oh, I'm captain of the football
I'm
team."
straight A's.
Right. And it got to the point where it's like, okay, we get it. We know you guys can perform, but who do you see that doesn't have a friend? Who do you see that's sitting there eating their lunch by himself? Who doesn't even have a lunch? And what we were trying to do was to focus our kids on, there's other people out there. There's other people that need help. And if you can act on that opportunity, that's the real win for the week. You know, not all of our kids were good at football. Like our oldest son, he hated football. He was mad at his dad made him finish the season of football. He wanted to quit football. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, despite your child not achieving in ways that you feel they should, there's always a win in serving and helping others. And by your child being able to recognize that and to act on that, that's fostering, like Alema had talked about, humanity that is needed in our world so desperately. But we as parents have to focus our child on, hey, achieving is one thing, and that's great, and we love it. But at the same time, the real work we can do is helping a life, right? Is reaching out and loving someone that maybe is not getting that from anyone else. And so I appreciate that was one thing that our kids were able to balance at a young age.
It's really awesome. It's really awesome. And again, you know, some of it might seem cliche, but it really is so valuable, and it really does change everything, you know? And it really, again, we should do it just for the purpose of doing it, but eventually it really does pay. Like, that's the kind of thing that does carry over, you know, to get you into these big schools and, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, if you guys, let's focus on this a little bit, if that's okay. The college essay coaching that you do. I feel like, you know, from my own experience, and I don't want to talk about myself too much, but from my own experience with myself and other people, I feel like this is something that's very, very, maybe one of the more nuanced aspects of any college application, no matter where you're applying to or whatever. And I feel like it's something that, you know, because it's one of the more nuanced things, it's one of the more elusive and difficult things for a lot of people to tackle, including, you know, whether their parents went to college or not or whatever. So
English majors.
Yeah, exactly.
Not English major.
Yeah. Whether you're an English major or not, I think it's something that it's an elusive thing for a lot of people to tackle. So the fact that you guys coach on this specific thing, I think, is one of the more valuable things of all the great things you guys do. Can you guys talk about that a little bit, if that's okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, talk about your process, G.
Oh gosh, you know, when you're putting together your application and you're asked to put your whole life story in like 500 words or less, first of all, you need to read the prompt.
Yeah.
I'm just going to tell you that, parents and children, and kids. You need to understand what the prompt is asking you specifically. Because if you have this conjured in your head, like, oh, I'm going to tell this story, but the prompt is asking something totally different, or you didn't even answer the prompt, that's a missed opportunity. Another thing you have to understand is the word count. You need to make sure that you write enough that reaches a substantial word count, but doesn't go over. Don't go over the word count.
That's pretty important.
It is.
They want you to not go over.
They want you to be able to do it in a way that you can meet, right, the standard. So read the prompt, understand your word count, and then tell your story. And what I mean by tell your story is that you have an opportunity to share a little bit about yourself, not everything about yourself. And that's why you have to understand that the application has certain parts for a reason. They understand you can do academics. They understand what you spent your time on in the last how many years, right?
Activities.
Yeah, they've understand the value you are through your letters of recommendation. But now it's you being able to tell your story. And so I usually tell them, this is kind of a saying that we have in our home where it's like, straight dog. When is your straight dog moment that you unapologetically just like went out on a limb because this is who you are, you know? And it's hard to know that for everybody, but what's great about working with these students is you do get to know them in a way that maybe their parents don't know them, that maybe their teacher hasn't seen.
And in a way where maybe a lot of their value comes out generally, but specifically for, you know, this college essay.
Right. And you have to allow them to kind of be in that pocket and be able to feel it, because as you read it, that emotion comes out if you're telling the story right.
Sometimes they sorry, I'm just saying.
No, you're good.
Sometimes they hadn't thought about the story in its, you know, when it started, when it ended. They just have this feeling, and this is the first time they're putting it into words, you know.
Yeah. And so what I usually have them do is pick a few topics, and then kind of narrow it down, you know, and then be able to do just like a rough draft, meaning don't write to the word count, just write.
Yeah.
Just write what's about.
Like everything that's in your mind about
right.
this. Yeah.
And then we will edit it together.
And narrow it together.
Yeah. So I never change anything on a student's essay. It would always be this is my suggestion, or have you thought about this, or what does saying this mean to you? Are you relaying the same things that's in your head to what someone's going to read? You know.
So the key is, sorry to interrupt, but a key is you're very much coaching and you're consulting, but you never like force them to like
No.
cut this out, or you need to say this, or you need to say it this way.
Yeah.
You suggest, but at the end of the day, you make it's theirs.
Yeah.
Like,
If you edit someone's, well, first of all, you can't. That's not.
yeah, it's probably
Yeah.
not legal and all that
That's
either.
not
anyway.
legal. But honestly, if you edit their voice, it actually mutes.
Yeah, it dilutes it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, even the way they talk, or the words they use, like if you're going to use something from the dictionary that they would never say, like
Right.
it takes away from their story.
And it's actually not ideal,
Right.
ironically, for the essay.
Right. These people in admissions, they read thousands, probably tens of thousands.
Particularly if we're talking about Harvard and these Ivy Leagues, they
Yeah.
can see right through it.
Yeah. And so really, from what I understand, the essay is the last thing they get to. So they understand like the transcript, the SAT, ACT score, check. Then they go through the list of activities, check.
Because if they get tripped up by any of those things you just mentioned,
That's right.
they don't even move forward.
They don't
They're not
even
gonna
move
read
forward.
They don't bother
whole
getting to
They
the
don't
essay.
get to the essay. So for you to stress out about, and I get it, it is stressful. But what I'm saying is you got to put it in context, in a sense that we got to make sure the whole the whole application is speaking to the same thing. Because if they don't even get to your essay, what are your list of activities sharing about you? What does your letter of recommendation tell about you? And then lastly, it's almost putting the cherry on top, right? So you want to paint a picture that hasn't already been painted through your list of activities or your letters of recommendation. It's like, what kind of thing would you share that maybe hasn't been shared? So to just give you an example, our son, who hated to play football, he actually used that experience to show his resilience as his essay for Stanford. Our daughter, right, who applied to Harvard, actually used part of her essay to share she was a middle child. And for all of you middle children out there, you get what being a middle child is. Sometimes you're forgotten. Sometimes you're not given enough credit. Sometimes you're not given enough resources. Sometimes you just kind of have to be good and do what they need you to do. But again, it's like you can't say one story is better than another, because again, it's painting that complete picture. And so just to kind of throw something out there that doesn't kind of belong to everything else you've already packaged, I'd say it would be a missed opportunity.
Yeah. Like, I feel like you're emphasizing that they really, when they get to the essay, if they've already seen, okay, his grades are good enough, his SATs good enough, activities are good enough, we want to see the college essay now. Like, they want the real you.
Yeah.
They want the most
They want to
impressive
hear from you.
But they want the most impressive real you.
Yeah.
Is that accurate to what you're saying?
I love it. And honestly, I get so emotional when I read students' essay, because it's them.
Yeah.
And they're sharing a very personal part of their lives that maybe they haven't let out yet. That this is really how I felt about my family, or this is really how much I hated something, but I finished it, or this is really how I've always felt, but I couldn't share, And so I just want to applaud these kids for working so hard and
They're brave for putting themselves
Yes,
out there.
for being brave. And honestly, let me just tell you this, and I know Alema can speak to this too. The application process is such a reflection on life, that sometimes you haven't thought about things in the way that come out in an essay because you haven't allowed yourself to reflect. But you do go through so much reflection because it's kind of like an end of an era, right?
Yeah.
You're kind of finishing high school and you're moving into being independent or being on your own or adulting and kind of like being in the driver's seat. And so not only are we looking back, but we're looking forward. What are you going to bring to campus? What has all this experience allowed you to share on campus? Is a very important aspect of the essay. It's not just what I experienced, but how does that make me better for your college?
Yeah. What are you going to bring? So because you go through all these great experiences, what are you going to bring to campus? And you have to state it. You have to have,
Yeah.
And so what I'm going to bring to campus
That's right.
is I'm going to do these things to make an impact on my campus. So
Yeah.
sometimes you got to bring it home so that they know, okay, this wasn't just done, great experiences and then everything stops there.
That's right.
I have all these great experiences and watch what I do to that campus when I get on campus.
There you go.
So that's the attitude and pretty much the message you're trying to deliver to the admissions people reading.
And I think another thing too is parents, don't be upset if your son or daughter doesn't want to share their essay with you because it is personal in a way that sometimes their real voice isn't heard if they're censored by somebody, right?
Sure.
And so we didn't read our kids' essays and they didn't care to share it with us. And it was,
We asked and they didn't want to
did you
share
get your essay done? Yeah, I got it done. Okay.
I'm here to proofread it.
We kind of do this, and it's okay because I think that again, just allow them to have that time to share.
And they get to own it.
They get to
It's
own
theirs, Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes we could censor our children in a way that we think will show their best light, but actually takes away from their light. Those hard reps, they actually show the grit and resilience that is needed to get on those campuses. Life on those campuses for our kids coming from, Pacific Island background is not easy.
Yeah.
It's not comfortable. Many times they will have imposter syndrome. They will feel like I'm only brought here because I'm Polynesian.
And people will tell them,
Yeah.
why are you here?
Yeah. And so.
Oh, I see how you got here,
Yeah, not everyone is a great fit for those campuses. And we don't ever want to put a family or parents or a child in position where it harms them or, financially hurts them. That's the last thing we want to do. So we do try and figure that out. Like, is this even going to be a good fit before we even get to, hey, I want to apply to Stanford and Harvard. And we haven't really kind of discussed those nuances that can happen. So
I love all of that. I love your emphasis that, because again, I don't think most parents would think that way where I should allow my kid to not show me their essay if they don't want to. Especially, if people are coming through your nonprofit and they're getting one-on-one coaching from you guys, I feel like it's important for them parents to know they're in good hands and you're pointing out the reality that as parents, a lot of parents probably do want to censor their kids or perfect whatever they're writing. And the reality is, parents don't always know everything, as much as they want to, parents are imperfect too. And, sometimes their censorship is actually subduing a lot of the texture that, again, is their kids and actually might get their kids accepted into these big schools. Because again, like you say,
right.
No matter what school it is, but especially if we're talking about Harvards and Stanfords, they read all these essays and they can read between the lines. And what they really want, correct me if I'm wrong from what you're saying, is they want the real you to come out in the essay. Again, the most impressive real you, but the real you as much as possible.
I think, I think our kids these days are very much educated with social media. Like they know about life, they know what's going on. But then you have to balance that within your home, right? So you have structure in your home that kind of balances all the information and access they get on social media.
All the noise.
Yeah. But I think what parents need to understand is to take confidence in all those years that they've raised their child, right? In all those conversations, in all of those reps that they take. All of that was done for a reason. And so when they get to this point, it's like, okay, let them go,
Yeah, just trust them,
And we're not talking about sharing some damaging information or situations that may be, sensitive in nature, but it's allowing their voice to be heard, I guess is what we're hopeful.
It's really awesome to make that distinction.
Yeah.
And so, with the college essay, again, I feel like this is something you talked about it, but I think it's important to emphasize that when you emphasize at the beginning that it's important to not go over what the word limit was, I would say, correct me if I'm wrong, but would you say that that's actually part of what the college wants to see too? I mean, obviously, for one thing, they have to give you a limit because they don't have time to read a million pages, from each person. But on top of that, part of the talent of what they want to see, from each student as a writer and as an applicant, is that you have to be able to write and pack a punch concisely without too much wind up, which is a skill in and of itself, because you have to pack a punch in a small, compact amount of words, without too much wind up. I mean, that takes a certain skill too, which they also want to see.
Yeah, I think it's important for parents and students alike to know that you're not going to say everything in, and it's almost like less is more, like narrow down on the story, narrow down on the value of it, and then how it then will help you as you journey forward on their campus. But to try and state everything that you've done in the last 4 years, that's for the list of activities. That's not the essay.
See, I think that's an important distinction to make, because, again, correct me if I'm wrong in how I'm saying this, but from all your experience, would you say it's important with the college essay, like depth is better than breadth?
Yeah.
And you don't want to, you almost like want to take one or two things and just go deep on them, almost telling a story, as opposed to like giving like a couple sentences about every last activity they have. Because again, they see everything you've done with all your activities and all that stuff. So what they want to see is a very human, personal, part of you. And, the way to do that is to take just one or two of your activities or one or two stories and just go deep on them, telling a story. Is that accurate in your mind?
Yeah, you're correct in saying that. I've had many parents say, "Oh, well, they need to list, all this experience and that." And I said, "No, that's for the list of activities." And I think you can list like 10 or 15. I'm not sure. There's a lot of activities.
And you're not trying to list all your activities. It's just all the home runs,
Right. So when, like you're saying, Landon, when they get to the essay, they're like, who is this person now, right?
Yeah.
And so again, be mindful of AI. I know a lot of students would like to say, "Oh, AI, write my essay. I've done this, and this, and this."
But it's almost the last thing they want, again, because they want the human.
They want the human aspect of it, And so, but everyone is different, so it's not gonna. We go about coaching in a way that we're speaking to that person about their life, and everyone's going to be a little different. And so you kind of have to pick that out when you're reading their first draft. It's like, okay, are you trying to say this? Is this what, comes of value after having gone through this? One real quick one to mention is, I had a student that was writing about the frustration with her father, right? Growing up and him not playing an active role in her life. And it's good in a sense to tell that story, but then you have to step back from yourself and say, what did I learn from this? How to be a better person, how to be there for someone when they need me, how to show up, how to care for someone. So you almost have to flip it. You take what happened, but then you also take how you benefit from it, good or bad, right? And so sometimes the story that's a hard story to tell and may not paint the best picture can show the better light because of that. And so that's why I love reading their essays, because you're trying to see who they are, right? You're trying to connect all the dots that have been listed through academics, through your, extracurriculars, through your letters of recommendation, and kind of highlight that right then at the end.
It's really awesome. We don't have to go too in depth, and you don't have to drop names or anything like that. But just to, quite frankly, brag about all the stuff you guys have done. what are some of the big schools? Again, we talked about your kids, but from the foundation, from the nonprofit you guys run, what are some of the schools you guys have helped kids get into? If we're just going to name drop, I mean, from what I've seen, did you help someone get into West Point?
We did.
Okay.
West Point,
Harvard, also, I believe.
Harvard, Stanford, Dartmouth. A few of them went to Dartmouth, and then USC. I know that we got.
So each of those schools more than one or two. Yes.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. We put together a graphic, right, to help us remember all of the schools there, and I must say it's pretty incredible to see the list of schools. But in my opinion, it's the people that are at those schools, and not just there, but the growth that they've made while they're there, and the impact they're making. Like, we have people that are advocating for our Native community. We have people that have written books. We have people that
have gone through your nonprofit and they've eventually written books, either at these schools or after they graduate.
At the schools. I mean, obviously we have people that have played on the next level, with
national
college.
champions.
And so to me, it's on them. Like, that is the real work.
Sure.
The real payoff is like knowing they could do those things and then realizing they've done it and more, and so I just want to congratulate the parents. It's not easy to raise a child in a way that you can prepare them, both mentally, spiritually, physically, and financially. Parenting is hard work, and we're not perfect, please, by all means, and we don't have all the answers.
No one does.
The way they've been able to organize their families, because you got all these kids, each of them need time and resources, and you're trying to, one after another, making sure that they're all organized.
That's right.
And trying to, really maximize all their opportunities, as they're growing up. It's not an easy thing to do, and you need full focus on all those things all at the same time. All these plates are spinning in the air, basically, and parents have a lot to deal with. So, consultants are good, and then there's a point where you don't need a consultant; you can just be a consultant yourself.
Right.
But
and you kind of are at the end of the day, as it boils down, and you've kind of solidified your choices, and you've gotten your admissions letters, and it's time to celebrate. I know when our daughter, Nafanua, who is attending Harvard, got her admission letters. Oh, it was such an emotional win. To be able to, that validation of I actually got in, that is huge for a family. And so just know that all the work that you're putting forth, it matters and it makes a difference. And sometimes it culminates in a financial aid letter. Sometimes it culminates in an acceptance letter. Sometimes it culminates in checking them into the dorms and, okay, Mom, I'm good. Like, go. And you're like, wait, what? So,
I had a great experience this past summer. We had helped kids get into all kinds of schools. But I had this one student who, comes from a single mom, and they were just trying to get into a school locally. I think the family was from Arizona. But I was working my FSY sessions at BYU Hawaii.
For the strength of youth.
For the strength of youth.
Right.
And I was I'm in charge of Hawaii. And I'm running around doing stuff, getting things organized and talking with my leadership there. And someone comes from behind, gives me a big hug. I turn around, there's this girl. Oh. She had gone into BYU Hawaii. Her mom, single mom, trying to make everything happen. It was a miracle that they got into BYU Hawaii, just because of the situations with the family and stuff like that. But that's one of my greatest accomplishments, I feel like.
Yeah.
Was because they were able to get her situated into BYU Hawaii. She's thriving. She's loving school, has lots of friends. And just to see someone, find a school that's a great fit for them, and see her thriving and happy, coming from a home that wasn't, set up as best as possible. Mom needed a lot of help and support, but man, to see the daughter there, man,
that's
was
a
such
huge
a win.
win. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome. To close, I love a lot of the things you guys have said, and some of your emphasis that, a lot of these kids that are coming through your program and being helped by you guys. A lot of ways you guys are establishing relationships with them, and you're teaching them a lot about life in general, because, you're emphasizing the fact that, as great as it is to get into these big time schools, there's also more to life, like just being a good person and, and all these things. And also emphasizing, as you guys have also told me, that part of what you try to emphasize is the fact that learning never stops. Even if you go to a big time school and you graduate, you're still learning after that. And in some cases, as you've told me before, even if you get into these big time schools and graduate from these big time schools, everything isn't always automatically set after that, believe it or not. Like with this track record you guys have of getting kids into Harvard and West Point and all these other schools, in some of these cases, there's still been some uncertainty afterwards. But like, again, part of what you're trying to teach these kids is you just got to keep going. You got to keep, working hard and being a good person. And,
job's not done just because you went to a great school,
Yeah.
You still got lots of reps ahead of you and
struggles.
And struggles.
Yeah.
And it's what you do with your degree from those great schools. That's really what it's about. And everybody has an opportunity to respond to, after going to school at a great school, what are they to do now? And that's just one of those answers where Heavenly Father just gave us the opportunity to continue to grow and continue to make an impact on others. It's important to know that life's not over just because you go to a great school. You got lots of things to go do and create, and relationships to feed and develop.
I love how you talk about timeline, and parents, you'll see this with different children. They mature at different rates. Some people may have figured it out like in their junior year. Some people figured it out at 6 years old or sixth grade, But I think what's important for parents to do is always to let the child know that they're loved, they're supported in all phases of their life, right? It's not just about getting accepted to college or just about getting the diploma or just about getting the job. You're loving the human, right?
Yeah.
In all the good and bad and ugly.
Yeah.
We have kids go through different phases. They're not perfect.
Yeah.
They're going to reach struggles, but at the same time, having that support group as a family and growing and learning together just can help them weather through so many struggles that can break a person, literally break a person.
Because especially sometimes when they get into these big time schools or whatever, it may bring a whole new realm of struggles that may be foreign to the parents and the kids. You know what I mean?
Getting homesick is a real thing for
Yeah.
our Pacific Islanders because we're such a strong knit family unit and our extended family as well. But I think that they need to know that they're loved even when they're not doing well. Like even when it's hard, even when injuries occur, even when they got to take a break because their mental health, like it's okay. Like all these different phases, we just love them through it and we allow them to experience it and go through it, knowing that this time and season is what it is, but it's not to say it's everything. Right. And so that's where the value of the lesson comes from, is going through those things and being able to, again, kind of pick up and move forward. So parents, be patient. Sometimes you get the kid that's right on task. And then sometimes you got the kid that realizes it a little later in life.
Yeah, everyone has their own timetable.
That's right.
And our job as parents is to love and support.
That's right.
And it's really tough to put your own timetable on a kid's development because, that's not your timetable. It's to control, and
which also states the fact that we as parents have to learn and grow as well. Like we're not done yet, right?
Right, yeah.
And so and when our kids see us doing things, they're like, wait, what are they doing? They're doing a business? It's like, where did this come from, right? And so by you modeling, hey, I have this idea, or I think we should start this, or I've always wanted to do that. Like it shows them that you're never done. And I know for me personally, I got my degree later in life. I waited until I had 5 kids in tow, and both of us were kind of finishing.
We have 5 kids in tow. Of course, I was working, and she's working full-time job, and then going to school at night.
Yeah.
That was a time of where I was going, man, I'm married to the right woman.
But honestly, what that showed my kids is that, hey, if you really want something, you go get it.
Yeah.
And I think that started the impact of education in their lives. It's like, I'm not going to wait till I have 5 kids in tow and I've been married and I have a job. Like, why would I do that?
Right?
But you know what? If they get to the point where they have 5 kids and there's something different that they want, you taught them that it's not too late.
It's not too
you
late.
know?
No.
It's not too late. And so I think my whole recommendation for parents is love your kids and love yourself. Like let yourself grow as well. Like don't ever shortchange yourself because, you just don't know when your next best self will show up. Like you just don't know. And so I think it's important to show them that we're growing as well.
Thank you so much, Auntie Geraldine, Uncle Alema, Fitisimanu. We're going to close this week's show, but thank you again. Check out Manuia Life, or just Manuia?
Yeah, just Manuia.
Yeah.
We're on Instagram and Facebook. We've done a few things on TikTok, but we'll leave those.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you again.